unusual about the family, but I did notice there was always drinking involved with most of my relatives. And anytime they had a get-together or a dinner or whatever, there was always drinking involved. So I grew up pretty much in a drinking environment, even though no one was really getting out of hand, or so it didn't seem like it. I had a couple of uncles that would get drunk and had to be carried home because they couldn't drive anymore, they couldn't even walk. And to me that was normal because that's the only thing I saw. I grew up in that. My mother wasn't a drinker. If she had one drink, it was too much for her, and she was basically normal. Well, I grew up with the shadow of my father being a war hero. He was in World War II. He was decorated, and I wanted to be like that. I mean, I thought it was really great that you go out and fight and get decorated for it and all this. And I didn't understand why my father wouldn't speak about it, but that's what I wanted to do. Years later, when I was a teenager, I had started drinking with friends in high school, and we'd always go out and buy a six-pack of beer, get somebody to do it. One of my friends had an older brother who was more than accommodating to get us a case of beer, and we bought him a bottle, gave him the money, and we were on. You know, this was a normal thing for the weekends. We would just get drunk, you know, and I didn't even think of alcoholism. It wasn't in my vocabulary. I just thought it was normal because this is the way I grew up. People were drinking, and my friends were drinking, and so I was drinking. It gave me a euphoria. It gave me this sense of power that I never knew as a child, because as I said, my father was this big war hero, and he seemed so strong and all that, and I wanted to be like that. Well, this drinking actually gave me that sense of power. Well, in 1968, I joined the Army. Vietnam was going very strong, and during my basic training, of course, there wasn't any drinking. And that was okay because I wasn't really full-blown into my disease yet. So when we got out of basic training, the first thing we did was we got a town pass and headed right straight for a bar. Everybody got drunk. I mean, that was the thing to do. You graduated from basic training, and you went out and got drunk. And that's what we did. At this time, I was married for my first wife. And my first wife and I used to drink together, but not excessively, or so I didn't think. She was a normal drinker, I guess you would say, but we would involve our get-togethers with friends and family around drinking. And I was always drinking a little too much, and she would get on me about drinking too much, and I just told her that it's normal. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm not a drunk. Well, in 1970, I was sent overseas to Vietnam, and I went to Vietnam, and I got to see firsthand what war was all about. And the things that I did there and things that I saw were really horrific in most people's, as in a normal person's eyes. And I said I drank to forget what I had seen and done, but that wasn't the case. I actually drank because I liked it. That was just an excuse that I used, that I had drank to forget what I had done. But apparently it wasn't real bad, because I went back for a second tour of duty after the first one. And on the second tour of duty, I saw more action and everything, and we had things that we did and things that we saw. Some things I can't talk about even today, but it started this guilt trip, this guilt feeling that I had. When I returned from Vietnam, I was drinking heavily, and it was really getting bad. I volunteered to go into other parts of the world that I stayed in, and of course there was the local drink that the natives had, and I would drink whatever they were drinking. And what they were drinking was a lot stronger than you get in, say, the corner liquor store. And it was things that they gave me to drink. I couldn't even name, I didn't even know what they were made out of, but they were very strong, and I'd always get drunk with it. After I spent a total of 10 years in the Army. And after I got out of the Army, I went to work at an aerospace company. And during that time that I was at and I got a citation for driving under the influence. They took me to jail, and I spent the night in the drunk tank. And I thought that was the most humiliating thing that I ever went through, and I swore I'd never drink again. Well, after I got out of the drunk tank, the next day I went and I called a friend. They picked me up at the jail, and I went and picked up my truck out of the impound lot. And I had a sentence of community service and about a $1,500 fine, which I had to pay for. And that was the most humiliating thing that I've ever been through, or as I thought at the time. And I swore I'd never drink again. Well, the whole time that I was going through court and going through the classes and all that for that are required by the state of California for drunk driving, I was drinking. I continued to drink. I went to this alcoholism class that was run by the state, and as I said, I was divorced by this time. The first thing I did was I dated the teacher. She was a nice lady, and she told me that she was 2 years sober. I didn't know anything about that. But she told me I was 2 years sober, and told me that because of my ticket that I needed to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. So I started going to Alcoholics Anonymous, and it was an interesting meeting. It was up on the second floor of this building, and people were standing up and saying their names and stating that they were an alcoholic. Well, I wanted to be a joiner. You know, I didn't want to be different. So I stood up, identified as an alcoholic, bought a big book, and never opened it. But I bought this big book, and I listened to the 6 meetings that I was required to go to. And after that, I didn't go to any meetings. But I had been dry for approximately 3 months after that. And my natal birthday was coming up, and I figured, well, you know, I can have a beer now that I've been sober for 3 months, and it'll be okay. Well, I went out and bought a 6-pack of beer. Well, so much for that one beer. I'd already planned on having 5 more because I bought a 6-pack. Well, I bought that 6-pack, I drank it, and I went out and bought another 6-pack, drank it. I went out again and bought a bottle of bourbon, and then I was on. So this was 1985. I continued to drink until 1990, and I never got another DUI, but I was always drunk, and I was just a lot more careful. I would drink at home, and I would not drink out in the bars like I used to. Well, I was at home one day, and I had come to in the morning, and I looked in the mirror, and my eyes were red, the veins in my nose had been broken, and I looked really terrible. And I looked into my eyes, and all I saw was death. I didn't see the person that I knew I was. I saw what I had become. I don't know to this day whether I said it or I heard it or it cried out from the depths of me, but I heard, God, please help me. And I was given the most wonderful gift that I've ever been given in my life, and that was the gift of desperation. So when about a couple days later, I had ended up in the hospital with extreme high blood pressure. Thought I was having a heart attack, but I wasn't. And I was laying in a hospital bed dying of alcoholism. Cardiologist walked into the room and told me that if I drank again, I would die. Now, that was my moment of clarity. That was my moment of desperation. And I decided I wasn't going to drink anymore. But I needed help because I didn't know how to do this. I'd gone to Alcoholics Anonymous, but didn't even think about it at the time. But I knew a friend of mine that I worked with who was sober at the time. He had 16 years of sobriety. I didn't know what it was about. I'd been to 6 meetings, but I didn't know what Alcoholics Anonymous was all about. So I called my friend and talked to him about it. He had me come over his house, and we sat for hours at his dining room table talking about the problem that I had. And I didn't know I had a problem, but it seemed that every time I drank, I would get in trouble or something would happen. So he took me to my first first meeting that night, and it was a speaker meeting, and the speaker said, I have good news for you and I have bad news for you. The good news is that you never have to drink again as long as you live. The bad news is that you have to work for it, and I didn't understand that. During the months that followed, I was given all these sayings that were totally alien to me, like easy does it, one day at a time, live and let live. All these things that I didn't understand. I didn't know what they were. I was given some information by this man who had taken me to Alcoholics Anonymous, and he knew that he had to make it very, very simple for me because I didn't understand what was going on. And he would tell me things like, you have to take the 12 steps in order, 1 through 12, not 1 and 6, not 1 and 12, but you have to take them in order, one right after another. You don't you have to cross the T's, dot the I's, don't forget the commas, and don't change the meditation to medication. He told me things like this, which I didn't understand, but they rhymed and they sounded funny, so I listened to him. He also said things like, this is not fast food AA, this is not Burger King, can't have it your own way. And these were the things that I was told early on in sobriety. And it was funny because I was listening to these jokes as I thought they were jokes at the time, but in reality it was a lot of wisdom. This man told me that he had a 5th grade education. He's not smart. He doesn't know those 50-cent words. So be easy on him when I speak to him because he didn't understand everything. But he had 16 years of sobriety, and I wanted what he had. I didn't understand what people were saying. Do you want what I have? And I understood at the time. I felt it. I felt that I wanted what he had. I wanted that sobriety that I didn't have. And months turned to the first year, and then into the second year. Second year, he moved to Las Vegas, and I didn't want to be left behind because I was still very insecure in my program, and I went to move with him. So we both lived in Las Vegas. It was about 2.5 years into my sobriety, and I had a dream one night. My grandmother came to me in a dream. I was miserable in my sobriety. I didn't know what to do. I was afraid I was going to drink, and this image of my grandmother coming to me, the one that had passed away years ago, said, it's okay, you don't have to go through this. You can come with me now. She put her arm around me and took me towards this bright white light. And I looked at her, I was afraid, and I broke away from her and came running back, and I woke up. I do know that if I had walked into that light with her, I would have died. That I understood. I was not ready to go yet. I knew that there was something that I had to do, and I didn't know what that was at the time. Well, I got on with my sobriety, took the steps, and yes, I am a late bloomer. At 2.5 years, I started the steps, and things started to change in my life when I took the steps. You see, I was told that the steps were the recipe of life, and I didn't understand that. But I understand it today. The recipe of life is you take the steps in order, just like you're baking a cake. You follow the recipe, and you have this beautiful cake that everyone will enjoy. When you take the steps, you'll have this beautiful life that you can enjoy. And it's been interesting, this journey called sobriety. The things that have happened to me over the years in sobriety. When I was 6 years sober, my mother passed away. And I didn't think about a drink. For whatever reason, I didn't think about a drink. But I had people from Alcoholics Anonymous at the meeting, at the funeral. And I had this man who had taken me through the steps there, his family, my family were never very demonstrative in their feelings. But I don't want to use the term AA family, but that's basically what it was. And I got through that. I got through that tragedy when my mother passed away. But I'd gone to a meeting after that, and I just turned 6 in sobriety. And there was this man there who at the time had like 30 years of sobriety. He has left us since then. He has passed on. But he told me something that I'll never forget. He came up to me after acknowledging that after the meeting had acknowledged that I had achieved 6 years of sobriety, and said to me, "Phil, congratulations on your 6 years." He says, "I got a bit of advice for you." And he says, "Don't ever graduate." And I looked at him, and I understood. Finally, I was beginning to understand what the program was all about. I was told that if I graduated, or thought that I had graduated from the program, then I was doomed to go out. Because I have to take this program one day at a time. And I finally understood what it was all about. I understood that there was a lot of footwork to be done. I had a problem with God at the time. And I was told, "Why do you have a problem with God? He doesn't have a problem with you. Do you think you're better than God?" And I couldn't answer that. No, I didn't think I was better than God. So I had to accept that the power greater than myself could keep me sober. Through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, I was introduced to a God that at the time I did not understand. But over the years, that has changed. When I was about 8 or 9 years sober, I met this lady in the program. She was Angela's sponsor. Angela had asked her to sponsor her at the time. And she taught me a lot of things about spirituality, which I really didn't know. I thought that spirituality was the God of the religions, and it wasn't. She taught me about making God more personal, making God a best friend, whatever I wanted God to be. And she had some wise counsel for both of us. I was very pleased with what this lady was telling me about the spirituality, and I began to read about spirituality. Not so much the religious books, but alternative books on God and spirituality, and they made a lot more sense to me than being punished and sent to hell. And it was a very good time in my sobriety when I got closer to God. It was like God had become part of me, and I didn't understand it at the time. But God had actually become part of me, and I found out that God was all there is. And when I look at it that way, then I see that you and I and everything around us is part of God. And it made a lot more sense to me. It gave me a great deal of comfort. I had seen so many things in my life when I was in the Army, and the horror that people see of war, and I found out that it was okay. That was an experience. It wasn't good or bad, it was just an experience. And I needed to go through those things at that time in order to get to the point that I was at. At this time, this lady, whose name is Doris, came down with cancer. And she passed away. She passed away with 42 years of sobriety. She was 82 years old at the time. Now, when she had left, she passed on. We were both lost, and we didn't know what we were going to do for a spiritual advisor at the time. Well, one door closes, another one opens. We met this other lady who was a minister, not Alcoholics Anonymous, but she was a minister, and she got us through some very difficult and trying times. And she was telling us the same things that Doris was telling us, only she expanded on it. And this was a great comfort for us. During this time that Doris passed away, we needed somebody to guide us, somebody to help us get through some rough times. Angela had gone to court at the time and had given up her son to the courts, and this was a trying time for her. We both went through some very difficult times, but this lady helped us through that, helped us get through it. It was, we were still sober. That was amazing. Through all the adversity that we went through, we were still sober. And it was because we had each taken the 12 steps. And because we had an understanding of a power greater than ourselves, had surrendered to this power, and were sober by the grace of God through the 12 steps. Well, we had did a geographical off of that. And we finally ended up in Las Vegas, where we are at now. And things have changed here. You know, we've gone through some ups and downs, and Angela was diagnosed with an illness, and she has gone through it. She went through the agony and the depressions of this illness, and I've watched her go through it. I've been there to support her, and I didn't understand why she went through this. But then I remembered that life is an experience, that it isn't good or bad, it's just an experience. We choose what we are wanting to experience. See, I believe that first of all, God is all there is. God is the sun, the earth, the moon, and the stars. God is creation. But more than creation, God is creator. We are all part of God. I didn't know this in the very beginning, but it has come to light now that we are all children of God. We're all part of the whole. God is everything, and we are part of that. If you picture God as like the ocean, you take a cup and you dip it into the ocean, you have part of the ocean, and the ocean is still there. So we are that cup of ocean water. We're still part of God. I have learned over the years that getting out of the physical gets me in tune with God. If I rise above the physical plane and get onto the spiritual plane, align myself closer to God, I don't have to experience the agony of this physical world. It's hard to do because we are encased in a human body. We are part of this universe, but we're also part of God. We're merely spiritual beings having a human experience, and this is our experience. Whatever I've gone through, whatever Angela's gone through, it doesn't matter. It's just an experience. It's something that we have to do in order to achieve our final goal, to be one with our Creator. And this was the person who thought God was going to send him to hell for everything he'd done. to me over the years of sobriety that I've come to this understanding that God is not punishing, but God is loving. There isn't anything that I haven't done that I cannot be forgiven for. And I used to think that I would be punished and sent straight to hell for everything I had done. And that wasn't the case. I put myself in that hell. I put myself in that hell of alcoholism. I had drank 24/7. I used to have a bottle of bourbon in the cupboard, and if I got below half, I'd go out and buy another one because I want to be without the alcohol before the night was over. I needed that alcohol all the time. And today I don't need that alcohol. Today I have my relationship with God. I have my relationship with my wife, and she's a wonderful lady. She's been a blessing in my life. And people that I have met, both in and out of sobriety, have been a blessing in my life. We just came back from a funeral in California, and this lady, Nancy, was Angela's first sponsor. Nancy was a sweet lady. What I was amazed at was all the people that were there. There had to have been, I don't know, 50, 60 people there at the funeral. And the memorial service was not like a religious service. There was people talking about what she was like. And this lady had 36 years of sobriety. And they remember all the funny things that she did and the funny things that happened. It was a celebration of her life instead of her death. And that was really wonderful. And it was wonderful that this lady was remembered the way she was, because she brought so much joy and happiness in people. And it was really marvelous. She was a wonderful lady. I remember her coming up to Las Vegas, her and her husband. Her husband has 40 years of sobriety. And they come up and for the Alcoholics Anonymous Roundup that's held annually at the Riviera Hotel in Las Vegas. They come up, we go to meetings, and this lady enjoyed life. She took Angela to a Chippendale show. This lady was in her 70s at the time, and I asked her, I said, Nancy, do you know what Chippendales is? And she said, yes, naked men. And I said, but Nancy, they're naked. She says, yes, I know, I want to see it. You know? And it was so funny because she and Angela went to the showroom, and she tipped her way up to the front. She wanted to be up front to see the naked men. And it was hilarious. This 70-year-old lady wanting to see men strip. And I thought it was a funny thing. But you see, you can enjoy life in sobriety. She did it without drinking. She did it because she wanted to do that. This lady experienced life because she was sober. She didn't have to drink to experience life. She remembered what she did. That's the funny thing about it. She remembered what she did. And I remember when I was drinking, there were a lot of times that I didn't remember what I had done the night before. You know, and I have these memories now that because I'm sober, I can remember everything that I've done in my life now because I am sober. I'm sober by the grace of God and by the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. The 12 steps have given me a new freedom that I never thought I would ever have. They freed me from the bondage of myself because I was my own worst enemy. I get drunk and I do stupid things, and I wondered why people were mad at me. I wondered why I ended up in jail, you know, and I couldn't understand this. My oldest son is an alcoholic, and he didn't make it into sobriety. He ended up in prison over alcohol, and he's in prison for life. I had agonized about this when he went to prison, and I was told that want to do. It doesn't matter what somebody else does. But he chose to do what he did, and he ended up in prison for it. It's difficult at times to think about him, but I know that it's none of my business. I had to let him go because I was told a long time ago that your children don't come from you, they come through you. You do the best you can with them, and if they don't make it, it's up to them because they have as much free will as you do. My free will chose the path of getting sober, and I'm sober today. I chose a path that leads me closer to God, because that is my ultimate goal, to be one with my Father. About last year, I was wondering, what am I supposed to do with my life? I've done many things. Most of them were negative in the past, and I wondered, what am I supposed to do? And it came to me. Angela works with a lot of people who are disabled, and have similar illnesses or the same illness that she has. And my job is not to be the one to shine and to lead somebody onto another path. My job is to help her, because she is the one that is supposed to bring these people. See, she's going through this experience right now of this illness, and she is helping others with the same illness or similar illnesses, and that is her job. She is supposed to help these people. My job is to support her, to take care of her, to watch over her, to make sure that she has all the peace and serenity in her life that she needs. And that's what I'm supposed to do. And it's a job that I do willingly, because she is a wonderful lady. I mean, I saw her when she was first sober. In fact, she was in a recovery house when I first met her. She wasn't even a year sober yet. And I've seen her grow over the years. She's over 12 years sober now, and that's a miracle for a lot of people. There's so many miracles up there. You look around and you see all these people that come into the rooms, and they come in sad and crying and carrying on and all that. Some of them are distrustful of others, and they won't talk to you because they're afraid. See, fear is what keeps us down, keeps us drinking. It is our job to help these people to get over this fear, to teach them about life, to teach them that there is life after hell, and the hell is the drinking. Sobriety is life. And this is what I've learned in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, that we can all get sober if we really want to. But the thing is the willingness is what we need. You need to be willing to get sober. I wish everybody the gift that I got, and that was the gift of desperation, because that got me to the point that I needed help, and I actually asked for help. But that's a wonderful gift. There's so many people that I've seen over the years that have gotten that gift, and you see them sober today. I've met so many wonderful people in this fellowship. People that some are no longer with us. They died sober. Some are still there, and we got to see some of them when we went to Nancy's funeral, and it was like old friends, like family. You've seen these people, and they're still sober, and they're still doing the things that they need to do to stay sober. And it was wonderful seeing these people. It was great seeing some of the friends that I had. Some of them actually remembered me, but the only thing I want to say is I want to thank Lenny one more time for asking me to speak, and I wish you love